In my quest to do an engine swap on the S10 in 5 days by Friday, today is Wednesday. Didn't get much done out in the garage because of yesterday's fiasco in which the transmission plug came out, spilling the contents of the transmission onto the garage floor. Thought I had secured the fuel lines, however, when I went into the garage this morning, the fuel lines had inadvertently decided to take care of the environmental disaster on my garage floor all on their own. They fell to the floor and basically cleaned the transmission fluid for me, with the exception of some edges that had to be done. Couple that with the fact that we had about 2 inches of snow last night, no problem at all. It's absolutely beautiful outside. It is cold, 22 degrees, but the garage had gasoline fumes that were just overwhelming. So I went and grabbed cat litter from places, no, literally cat litter, the non-clumping kind at the dollar store, as opposed to $5.50 a bag, as opposed to paying $23 a bag at my local auto parts store for some oil dry to clean up the residual transmission fluid spills. The fumes were overwhelming, so I simply opened the garage door, cleaned up the transmission fluid spills, and tolerated it as long as I could, let the place air out, and brought my little happy self back inside because, yeah, I'm just slightly under the weather, but I'm feeling, that didn't come out right, slightly under the weather, but I'm feeling better because I used my Uncle Archie Garrett's hot toddy recipe. Yep. So that was actually in a previous short video too for your entertainment. Drink responsibly. But my throat feels markedly better. Back to the issue. The garage. The project, the engine swap. Ordered parts from O'Reilly's today. Did not have them in stock, so they will all be there on tomorrow. Such is the case these days dealing with the ye old car hobby. So it was a bust, so that leaves Thursday and Friday. At this point, I don't know if Friday is a realistic goal. I'm going to shoot for it anyway. But it is another day, and it is another night, and it's dipping down into single-digit temperatures out there, and as you can see, I'm inside. I'm blessed because I do have a garage that I can close the doors on that I can heat. However, with the excessive amount of petroleum fumes that were present, I did not dare light the propane heater. Otherwise, life would get very exciting real quick. And I'm 68 years old. I'm not about to do things too quick, but something like that would make anybody move quick. So, that's the Wednesday update. Waiting parts ordered. Don't like spending money, but sometimes you got to. Garage floors cleaned up. Fumes have dissipated. Tomorrow I can get out there and light the fire in the propane heater, warm the place up, because it's going down to 9 degrees out here in Nashville, Tennessee tonight. 9. But we'll see what tomorrow brings. In the meantime, I'm going to fix another one of Uncle Archie's hot toddies and get me some restful sleep. See you tomorrow. Here we are. I have to think about this. This is Tuesday, and it's not the Tuesday from the previous week when I said I was going to have this. And no, this is a week ago, Tuesday. My hopeful 5-day saga to get this into that has turned into the typical type of stuff. And you can't say nobody told you there'd be days like these, but here's what's happened. Came down with a little bit of an upper respiratory infection that had me sidelined for probably 2 solid 3 days. Yeah, I made my uncle's hot toddy, Uncle Archie Garrett. Thank you, man. That really, really helped. So that kept me out of the garage. The other thing that kept me out of the garage, and all you folks that are, if you're new to this venture, this old car hobby, you got to understand that guys my age and older, we were accustomed to finding parts that we needed same day. Nowadays, we have to get parts next day and possibly 2 days out. Such is life, especially these days. So this is just one of the things that you have to deal with when you're doing this as your vocation or your avocation. Either way, what do? You roll with it. Because there's nothing else that you can do. Roll with it. So that's exactly what I've done. So we finally got the parts in for the rear main seal on the 4.3 liter, the 96 to 2005 conversion. Also had to tap, let me see if I can find, where is that thing? Dang it, there we go. Had to tap this bore as it was the 2005 knock sensor. I learned a lot about knock sensors. I knew how they operated. I had no idea that they were all tuned to specific frequencies, and depending on their location, listen for a particular sound. Now this one looks exactly like the 96, except for the size of the bolt that you see, that screws into the block. And it's a completely different frequency range because it's also located in a completely different area of the block. Now, if I had a tuner, if I had access to a tuner, if I knew somebody that had a tuner, if I had the money to pay somebody with a tuner, I possibly could have deleted this. But this is Deborah's 96. And I wanted it to operate like the 96. I was not changing computers. I'm not changing wiring harnesses. I'm taking an exact dimension, 262 cubic inch, 4.3 liter V6 from a 2005 and putting it into a 1996 chassis with 1996 sensors to make my life easier. You got to do what you got to do. So we'll put the flex plate back on. Make the transmission up. Oh, if you're doing these 4-3, 5-3, 6-0, 5-7 with a one-piece seal, and you go through this much hassle, replace the seal, prevent the oil leak. That is soon to happen. This is a used block, not a rebuild. So I'm trying to stave off everything. And while you're at it, replace the front main seal on the transmission too. Save yourself a headache. Or if you're like me, I got real good with taking this transmission out of this truck. Sadly. 5 times in 2 days one time. You decide what you're going to do. Meantime, me and this thing are going to get to screwing. It's dark outside now. And it's a beautiful, oh God, it got up to 75 degrees today. Grateful for these types of days. And it's still supposed to be pretty decent tomorrow. Maybe in the 50s for the rest of the week. Nice. Nice. So I'm going to take advantage of it. Stay tuned.
Facebook Marketplace yielded the candidate for the 4.3 liter swap. Here it is, hanging precariously from the crane, looking for every bit like a dauntless dive bomber going on to a target. But she settled into the frame rails like it was supposed to, like butter, with a little bit of choice words, but precision nonetheless. and the results right there. There's my happy face. Now, there was only one other thing left to do.